517 to scanner control. 517 to scanner control.
This is the Star Wars Squadrons podcast, episode 5. It is January 11th, and I am your host, Timebomb. With me is the other host, Green Fox Leader. How you doing today?
Hey, what's going on, man?
You must be pretty excited.
Yeah, super excited. Yeah, getting ready for the Calrissian Cup next weekend, and a bunch of very fun stuff in the competitive community here. So yeah, it's gonna be really cool the next couple weeks.
Now, with us this week, we got what I think he's what is known as the best objective player on Twitch. He was the MVP in the Operation Ace. He's a member of the Splinter Squadron. Fencar, thank you for being on the podcast, buddy.
Good to be here, my dude.
You know, I gotta say, it made me so happy to see you do so well in that tournament. Just because, like, I don't know if you've seen the streams back, but you were hyped up the whole way, man. You killed it. Are you aware of that?
I am like partially aware of it. I don't know why I was like hyped up. I didn't watch most of it because I actually got really stressed out watching like the VODs. Like I got back into the like, kind of like stressed out mindset.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I could only watch so much of the VODs.
It's like it's cool. You went back to that war. You're in the PTSD again, man. It was
pretty
awesome to see you kill it because like I remember meeting you randomly on the Star Wars Squadrons Discord.
Yeah.
I was playing with Reaver, and you pop in all of a sudden. Little did I know.
Yep, it was just you and me and Reaver, and like we found Gonk at some point. And, like,
that was pretty cool, man. It felt special to me. I was like, man, this guy, he's just some random guy I met, and he's like the best objective player out there. So I wanted to get you on the pod, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how did you come to Star Wars Squadrons? What was your background in flight games? How did you come to it?
So I always liked watching like the space battle part of like all sci-fi, not just Star Wars, but like Star Trek and other things too. But like flying a starfighter, like the opening of Episode 3 was like, and then episodes 4 and 6 of like, you know, you just see like this like the battle there is just so freaking cool. I'm like, and so actually like when I was 8 years old, I played I think the first like not the first flight game, but like the first Star Wars space game I played was Rogue Squadron 2. Just like blew me away like 100%. I was like 8 years old. I was like, I got to do the trench run, and then I didn't play the game for another like 2 years. Let's see. Fencar can't hear you, buddy. Let me fix that. There we go. Stream fixed. I started streaming again because it's fixed now.
Oh no, that's great, man. I'm glad. Yeah, if anyone in the stream, if anyone in the stream wants to ask questions, by all means, please do.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so other than that, I played like various like there was like some crappy like sim flight space game that I played like ages and days ago. I turned with like a keyboard and it was like roll and pitch, and I was just confused mostly, but I still played it. I was confused. I didn't really manage to kill anything, and then I eventually managed to get this flight stick. Is like 10 years, it's like 6 or 8 years old or something, because I got it for like random space games, and like I got Tom Clancy's Hawks, and like I actually only recently found the Ace Combat series because I didn't have like a PlayStation.
That looked like a pre-sale Cytec X52.
Yes,
so it's got the original components and it's the original manufacturing. Yeah, that's dope.
Pre-sell out upside down.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Now, is that the stick you started playing this game with?
No, actually, so I moved to California before I started playing this game, and I didn't. And my mom, so I was living in Washington. My mom was in Oregon. I moved to California. I didn't get to stop by her place because COVID stuff. And she mailed this to me a couple of weeks or like a month after like the game came out. I actually only started Squadrons so I was really skeptical of whether Squadrons was going to be good, and so like I was just like looking at the game and reading Reddit and watching streams. And I was like, okay. All right, this game's probably good. I'll get it.
It took you a while to be sold on it, yeah.
It took me a few days, but like I caught up on it and I was like, okay, this is a real game. I'll get it.
Yeah. Nice.
So you did start on a flight stick. I thought I remembered you playing on controller at one point for whatever reason, then moving to a flight stick.
Yes, I used to play on controller. Actually, I'm playing on controller right now while practicing and stuff because like this thing has this issue where if it'll do it, it's not doing it right now, but like there's this there it did it. There it goes.
Oh, okay.
There's this plastic bit in the middle here. It will like pop up and get caught on the stick because it's not lubricated enough. So if I like, it's not doing it right now, but if I pull it, move it around too much and it's not lubricated, it'll like pop out. So I just need to lubricate and clean it a little bit more. It's a pain, but yeah.
So you're switching to controller now is what you've been playing more?
Yeah, back to controller for the moment.
Are you just using the standard Xbox?
Yeah, this is just a normal Xbox One controller. I have like a little Bluetooth dongle, and the batteries on this thing are lasting a while, but I'll definitely replace them before the tournament.
Because I've actually noticed this is a good time to ask you how your Xbox layout is, because people you're not playing on console though, you're playing on PC. So you have some, what is your button remapping is like as what we're
so there's only two things I remap on this thing. First off, left trigger is boost instead of the left stick, and then left stick to click in is target ahead, and then target cycling is on right stick.
Nice.
That makes sense.
I'll say these two could be swapped around depending on your preference, but those are the only remappings. The reason for that is because you can power manage with this guy while also boosting.
Of course,
because left thumb is no longer tied to this while boosting, and that's very, very important for efficient power management.
I feel like whatever remapping you're doing, like I have the Elite 2, so it's like slightly different. The same thing. I'm just moving the boost off of the left stick, clicking in is all you really want to do, and you just want to be able to keep your thumbs basically on the one on the power, the other one I think on the stick to control it. It's
super important to have it on something that you can always press though. So like bumper or trigger is the best.
Yeah.
Both bumpers are taking back auxes, but you also want to be able to fire whenever you want. So left trigger.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. Basically, the way I have it set up right now is I only need to move a thumb to hit my shunting, which I was thinking about maybe switching that up actually.
Well, I just clog grip it actually, so like.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm see. Yeah. So that's an advanced gamer move right there that I don't have at my disposal. I think it shows my age that I can't go to the claw, basically.
Yeah, all handy.
Like I can just like this isn't that uncomfortable. As weird as it looks, like sometimes it's just like better to do it that way.
I guess it's like anything. Like I just this game made me switch from having my middle finger on my trigger finger. I usually would use my like index finger in most shooters games, so you know what I mean. Like you can adapt if you do to anything if you do it regularly enough. You know what I mean? It just depends, and that happens to be a lot depending on what game I'm playing. Is my controller hand position will switch up a bit too.
And sometimes there's not many times where I need to claw grip it. It's just like if I'm like rotoring down a gen or something, I need to shunt to weapons while also changing power and doing other stuff and aiming. I'll throw it.
And sometimes you just kind of find yourself freestyling that a little bit.
Yeah.
So
just a little bit, and then left play time, and it just works.
So how did you find yourself on like Splinter Squadron? How did you find yourself navigating through the community and finding yourself on like one of the best teams out there?
Yeah, so essentially it was a question of like who did I enjoy flying with the most, and I happen to enjoy flying with teams that are good. Also, like Splinter is a very, very wholesome team. Like if you talk to any of the guys on there, Jareed, Nob, Chillstorm, Scout, and Brunus, like they're all really, really wholesome, nice guys. Like not just nice and like wholesome, but like they have a lot of heart and like they care about the other people like in the community. Like in a real way, they'll be like, make sure you guys get sleep and be like very like very casual and like as non-dramaist as possible about like anything and everything related to like who to pick for teams and stuff, and try to be like they're very aware of like the position that we are put in like this small community with like having to pick people for like. So it's like Splinter transitioned from just Scalp, who was a streamer. I actually found him by watching his stream and using his exclamation Discord link. He's a super cool guy to watch, and was a lot of fun to get to fly with him. He's so chill. So during the whole Splinter like started as like this super casual, like they're just playing together. It's not even like a whole pool. It's just like guys. And then as we as like Op A started coming up, we actually like ended up forming like this whole like two teams who were scrimming together in house, and that's what we prepped for Op A. So, like 2 times a week, we'd scrim in house like 3 or 4 games, and then do like some science and stuff sometimes. And like the process of I was very impressed with everyone during the process of like splitting up into like the literal A team and the actual B team, because the environment before that was like very much of
Casual?
yeah, like everyone's on the A team. You're all A team in my heart, kind of thing. But he still has to actually make an A team if he wants to win like the tournament. So they kind of moved away from this A team B team talk, and we're like, okay, these are the guys that are my team. Like, and we're very good about being like, okay, like this isn't personal for anybody. This is just like who we find to be the best fit for our team. And so we had like Brunus actually wasn't on the team until like a week and a half before we actually flew up base. But he came on, and he was like a great fit, like personality wise, and also like he repped practice stuff with me. So like I showed him how to do the piercing torp runs and the and rep attack runs on the X-wing for the ISD. And so like running stuff like boost extension is like me showing him, like, and he was like all with it once I showed him. And it was really, really fantastic to work with him for that.
And just like you're saying too, which like, you know, no drama for you. I feel like the whole community is so open, like yourself, like just raise your other people, like you teach people these things. So like the knowledge is being spread across, which is really cool, man. Like I've been in different practice modes with you where you're sharing a lot of stuff. Is that generally how you're working on things too? Are you going in practice mode in private matches rather? Is that how you're doing a lot of your training? Do you want to talk about how you're discovering it all? What's your process like there? Yeah,
so 90% of it is just like repping So a huge portion of the game, right, is one of the most important parts of the game is the attack run on the ISD or MC-75. And lucky for us, we get to spawn in one over and over in practice mode and practice attacking it, right? And so guess what I spend like 80% of my practice hours on is just doing that, like with whatever loadouts I find like useful.
So are you saying practice mode? Sorry, are you saying practice mode you go into and you drop the ISD? Which skill level do you do? The veteran or the one? What's the one?
Pilot. Pilot's the most accurate. Pilot's right now. Pilot has the same pilot difficulty shield gens have the same HP. I don't know about the whole MC, but generally most things have like equivalent enough that it's accurate to like a gameplay experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good knowledge to have right there, because I'm veterans seemed too high when I was messing around.
Veterans went too high.
Yeah, it seemed frustrating, so I just would go to private matches to sort it out. Sorry, Green Box, I cut you off there, buddy.
No, I was just saying that there's no use in doing practices on stuff that isn't equivalent to what's going on in game during a live match.
You still fly the layout, but yeah, as far as damage goes, it's good to do.
Yeah, I think we were kind of like taking a look at the Corvette damage, trying to like time it out, and like I did a run, and I was like, "What? The shields aren't down." I was like, "What's going on here? This is
the more annoying thing about high level difficulty is actually like the damage that you take. So you can't spend time like on that layout doing those runs. The other thing I actually like to do is go into a custom fleet battle, and set all the HP to like really, really high, so I can just do those runs over and over and over on like an actual map. And that lets me practice with some actual latency. Where practice mode doesn't have latency, so there's some weird stuff with shunting, boosting, and latency online. There's a little bit more of delay, so there's so you have to worry a little bit more about that, and it can be really jarring when you spend all your time in practice mode doing these perfect MC-75 runs, and then you get online and it just like your boosting is literally not working, and it's in the tournament, and you're like, oh god, what's going on? It doesn't have to be, guys.
Yeah, I've noticed that too in those games. There's like a half second before the boost initiates online, where you're just kind of like what's going on, or like you're in the tractor beam, you're like oh god, like you kind of get away from it.
Yeah, it's important to shunt a little bit earlier than you think you need to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anticipate it, like it's a lock on, like you're locking on a missile or something like that.
Yep.
That's a really good. That's valuable information there on how to practice those different loadouts and what's the best way to do it. Now let's talk about the meta a little bit that we're seeing right now.
That's spicy meta, man.
I would say
it's developing very quickly.
Yeah.
Well,
which one?
Which one? What I'm thinking specifically right now, I think it's even what I've noticed is even mid-level people are starting to see that these defenders dead drifting, they're dominant right now. Like
About time. Yeah.
people are realizing a little late. I'm noticing even when I go into a random dogfight now, I can't. There's more people dead drifting around, so it's a little tougher to get those kills out there. How do you feel about that?
I'm glad that people are figuring it out. It's really unintuitive, but I'm glad people are figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's really hard to figure out, like, I'm actually really hard to hit when I'm doing this. And this also doesn't actually cost that much boost energy, because it's like, you have your boost energy, and it's like people have like their one way they use things, and they don't necessarily feel like they have the leeway to experiment when all they do is play online. You know what I mean? They play online, they play these high stress situations, and like people can, like, I've gotten into this like before with other games where I'm playing in a game and I'm like, okay, I want to do the thing that I've been doing because it probably works, even if it's not necessarily like the best for like my improvement long term, because I don't know how like the other methods work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You get hung up. You mean you get kind of hung up on what you know to work?
Yeah, that I'm not willing to try to fail. Does it make sense?
Yes,
try to
totally.
fail in order to like to risk failing in order to learn something about the game mechanics.
I think that's kind of a problem overall in video games sometimes, and I mean, I do it too, where people.
It's a problem in life, my dude.
It's like people. It's like you can't have fun if you aren't winning. It's like no, you can't. You can still have fun playing a game even if you aren't winning. If you enjoy the game and you're learning, but it's like it's tough for people to get past that, especially if it's a new game and you're learning it. It just doesn't feel like you're growing in it. So I guess that's when it can be frustrating, and when people. When there's the big matchmaking mismatches and people are coming across it at the higher levels, I think that's when it creates a problem, because people have such a negative experience. And I think no one wants to have a negative experience when they're gaming, because they do it to have fun. And I guess I don't think the dead drift is at that point yet where it ruins the game, though. It's very difficult when you've got 5 people who are dead drifting against you and the best teams are all dead drifting, but it's not an unsurmountable thing. Your guys' thoughts there?
Well, you're talking about like when like new players come up against drifting aces.
Yeah, I guess I'm not talking about new players at this point. I'm talking about the higher level when I say that. It's not unsurmountable.
Oh yeah, so like if you're like a medium level team, you can still tank cruisers against like a dead drifting team, because if you're dead drifting, it's harder to shoot people. Like all the drifting in the world doesn't save you if you don't chaff your. Excuse me. If you don't stop those torpedoes.
You didn't want to say that word, eh? Is that a secret? I wanted to drop that one on the pod, baby. Actually, can I drop that one on the pod?
No, not today. Not today. I mean, people know about chaffing and stuff. We saw Cheese chaffing their shield gens on MC75 defense.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, people have been chaffing for a couple months now, I think.
Depends on which team. And
this has definitely been new. This is news to me. I just found out about this one, so we were.
Yep, I saw your post the post in orange about going figuring it out.
I was like, people are chaffing. You literally said it to me like a week ago, and it was one of those things that like it just registered this like yesterday or something like that. I think like you were just talking about it, like, oh yeah, they're chaffing there, and then we realized that's. It's creating problems locking on to some of the frigates though too when you have the chaff there. It seems like anyway. That's what we're reasoning. Yep. Does that make sense?
Yep. It's very funny that it took so long for people to be like, "Oh yeah, we can stop torpedo runs with this," like it says in the description.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, also I've been talking about these glitching out torpedoes for a few weeks now, and I'm like, "Oh, this isn't glitching out torpedoes."
Glitching out torpedoes are obnoxious.
I'm sure there's probably some. I've seen some torpedoes go right by the shield generator actually, but. I'm sure this chaff has something to do with it too, because you can't see that really. You just see them going nowhere. Yep. So that's actually was my next point on there. And I guess the off-phase attacking, I think, is the most exploitative of anything, right? Like, especially if, I was playing against Distracier. He was solo queuing against us, and he took out our shield gen, and his team hadn't even been on attack yet. Like at all, and he took out one of our shield gens, right? Like,
did he use the piercing torpedo memes? Those are obnoxious.
I guess that's what he did. I mean, it's just one of those things where you see, whoa, Distracier just died to the MC75 and took out our shield gen. Like, what happened? Like, it was just so randomly happening there,
right?
What
is going here?
Which is, I mean, I think it's a good thing that they're not allowing those
Yeah.
things at tournaments. Obviously, that's kind of like, that's against the spirit of the game. I think how it should work, right?
Yeah, I think at that point it's against the spirit of the game. If it's frigate phase, like after frigates are down,
Yeah.
have at it. Like the flagship's open, but before frigates are down, it's like, oh my gosh, guys, come on.
Yeah, because
That is, yeah.
from what I understand, the design of the game was so that the capital ships would basically shoot down anything while the frigates are still up. So I guess that's kind of like breaking that. So it seems sort of against the game.
And if you're like out and like and the only thing in is a torpedo, the flagship will still shoot down the torpedo. It just doesn't also like shoot down the It just doesn't shoot it if there's like a player in or something. It's like how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, I was playing like a solo queue game, and I had it at like 1. Like the flagship was like, I think it was the ISD. I can't remember. It was on like Nadiri, and I just like had it kind of blocked out, and I was about 1,000. I was just trying to send rockets, and it still like picked me off before I could get it. I couldn't believe it. It's like I can't out of phase then with 1%, but just Stray CA's doing it like mid game, and I was just like,
what even?
Yeah, I'm like, what is this game? Sometimes
I don't actually know like how you solo out of phase.
Who does? He's like, I don't know how he's doing it. Like, that's like the one you want to see streamed for sure. To be like, what is his power management? How is he doing this?
Just Stray CA things.
Yeah, just crazy things. You just have to give it up to that.
Yeah. True. And when did in the beginning when you first got Squadrons, I'm sure you probably played some dogfights and you played a couple fleet battles. When did you kind of decide, fleet battles is my jam? I really like the pacing of confidence down and yeah. When did you turn into like an objective based players? Were you ever a dogfighter, or did you always kind of go for, all right, this is how you win the game? You do this thing.
Right. So I started with the campaign actually because I was like, this seems fun. This seems like low stress. I wasn't sure I wanted to get into another competitive game after Dota 2. Played a lot of Dota 2. Played a lot of StarCraft 2. Stressful games, This is thankfully a lot less stressful because it's a lot less mechanically demanding than either of those games, funnily enough, even Dota 2. So when I started playing fleet battles, it was a thing of like, it was just obvious inefficiencies. I'm like, okay, we have these weapons that do like an ion torpedo does 3 times the damage of 2 proton torpedoes. And it completely takes down the shields. And I was from the very first couple of fleet battles, I was like, man, it's really hard to take down these shields. We should just I guess I just need to be the player that goes and takes like an ion torpedo or an ion missile or something and takes down those shields, And it's just like, it's like, well, these cruisers really aren't dying very quickly, and I'm wasting time shooting players, so I might as well just take the highest damage stuff and go shoot the cruisers, and it just kind of it's just spiral from there, and it became like, and I started playing with Scalp, and funnily enough, like the first time I played with him, I flew an A-wing because like he didn't have a spot for like 2 objective players. 2 objective players was too many objective players back then.
I mean, the game was just like you're saying, like we didn't even know about like the game was in its infancy in that stage still. It seems like
people were running 3 A-wings, 3 interceptors, no defense,
3 bombers. Didn't have all kinds of weird stuff.
Oh yeah. Remember when bombers had 4K HP? Wasn't that fun?
That was so funny.
Runs. Yeah.
If you like when you had Empire,
you just body AMC 75 and it dies. That's how much HP you had.
It was crazy,
right? So yeah, like I flew an A-wing then, and I was like, okay, and then we like got some like more stuff, and I went back to playing objective and being like I was the guy who was like, yeah, I can just reflect hull in and get this proton torpedo rocket burst laser shot in and just kill 2 shield gens real quick. I was using thrust engines back then because I didn't know the power of the jet engine. But.
The jet, yeah. A lot of people are switching over to jet these days. And I can't get off the slam because I like that passive boost recharge. But I'm hearing jet's even juicier once you get used to it.
Jet is juicier. Jet is like 3 times as juicy.
We'll make your case for the jet. Why do you think that everyone should be using the jet engine there?
Okay, so statistically, right? Let's first define what a jet engine does. Okay, so a jet engine doubles your boost recharge rate. On Y-wings, it doubles the amount of boost energy you use while continuously boosting, and on X-wings it increases it by double and then a half. Okay. Now what it doesn't increase is the initial cost of a boost. Okay. So if you have a full boost tank with either standard or jet, and you retro drift as fast as you can boost about 19 times. 20 if you're really like on it. And they run out at the same exact time.
Mm-hmm.
So what this means, if you're micro drifting and like dead drifting and doing all the things you should be doing to get fast movement, jet engine is functionally identical to the standard engine, except that it charges twice as fast. Downside of the slam engine is it doesn't actually increase your recharge speed when you have power in engines, which you should have power in engines.
But if you're so basically what you're saying is you can pretty much keep the power in engines by dead drifting and everything as you're going though too to maximize it. Until it gets hairy, I guess, and you run out.
Like power management is a little more complex than that. But for the most part, if you're flying like and shooting something, you should have power in engines, and you should be charging up your boost if it's not fully charged, and then you recharge something else while you're boosting or drifting, like away from the fight, and then you recharge and you go back in, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I guess I was saying like the standard versus the jet, as long as you maintain your boost as much, you're really not seeing that drawback that you get from the standard versus the jet. I mean, I guess that's a question.
That's still not quite right. So like, think of it this way: when do you ever need to continuously boost? Like ever?
No, yeah, you're cutting and stuff too, right? Yeah. I mean, to escape, yours is the most extensive, I guess, at points. But you still don't want to be flying straight.
Not even then, because you're flying straight if you're continuously boosting, right?
Right.
So when do you need to even continuously boost? There's only one situation.
I don't know. The hangar? Oh wait, straight at the shield gen at that last pass? No.
Actually, yes, that is one of. That's not the one I was. That's not the trap I was going to pull you into. But
okay, the hangar. The hangar is the other one.
Tractor beams.
Tractor beams. Yeah.
Tractor beams. Except if you know you're going to get beam locked, you can start boosting before you get locked, and then the tractor beam. If you're coming out of a drift, you can just boost past it, and it won't slow down your momentum if you're already boosting. So there's actually zero situations where jet engine is inferior to the standard engine if you're paying attention.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay, so there's the case for the jet
better.
engine. Just better.
It is cool. Just better.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, the other thing too I've seen a lot more of too is the ion cannons out there. Like some teams will just run like their Y-wings with those ion cannons, and it can really create some problems for the defenders out there. Do you think that's like a viable counter? What do you think about that?
It's very fun to use. It's very, very, very fun to use. Yeah, I mean, if you talk to like anyone, pretty much everyone is like, "Oh my god, I'm just getting ioned when I go on these Y-wings." Oh my gosh. There was a clip on Avengers stream where he was trying to shoot me and he was getting ioned. He was like, "Someone's on me! And it's just my ion cannon just chipping his shields down, and you're at like no shields in like a second and a half. It's great. I love it.
And that's why
you confuse the hell of the Avengers of Boo, and he doesn't even know what's going on. It's so cute.
I mean, 'cause that's like a counter to the defenders, basically, too, to like kind of get at them a bit.
Pretty straight up, yeah. Pretty much like a Y-wing is very self-sustainable. I mean, you farm slower, but then you can just run two of them or something. Like it doesn't need cover, or your interceptors are more free to target fighters instead of peeling off and getting rid of your tails.
Yeah, that's a strategy I think we're definitely going to see at the tournament too for a bunch of teams for countering the Empire. Some other things I guess we could just kind of go quick through. We could say, what do you think is the best ship for attacking like the frigates?
Oh, you muted yourself.
Oh, we lost them.
Are we back? There we go.
There we go.
So for frigates, depends on what your goal is. So like,
let's say the shields are down. Let's assume the shields are down.
Generally on frigates, fighters are extremely, extremely solid. So X-wings for rebels, and then TIE defenders for Imperials. TIE fighters don't have the same damage output that defenders do, since defenders have such crazy energy regeneration. Because they can recharge engines to full in 3 seconds, and then that lasts them for about 10 to 20 seconds. Well, maybe about 10 seconds, and then you recharge for 3 seconds, and you're good again. Whereas TIE fighters, you have like one bank of energy that you're shunting back and forth, so it's a lot less damage. So yeah, defender with like burst laser concussion cluster is like highest DPS and safest. For anyone who's like looking to just play a really solid objective on frigate attack, just use X-wings and then TIE defenders.
The TIE defenders, that's different. That is a little different than you hear. You do see it, I guess, in high level, because they'll just drift back and forth and just do damage on it endlessly. It'll be like super hard to take those defenders out. And then
it's like if you're very solid with drift mechanics, defenders are the way to go. But like I don't see a lot of players I see aren't using the drift right, because they shouldn't be continuously boosting with it ever. They should be double clicking to the boost button to quickly micro drift and drift around.
That makes sense.
But you know, some people are playing a controller with their boost on this button, so it's harder.
I mean, I played like way too long that way, just waiting to update my controller.
It takes way too long. It takes way too long to do anything with your boost on that button.
Well, it's because on the Xbox, like I was playing on console, so I think mapping is very limited. I think my other option was to go inverted, and I didn't want to do that.
You don't even get button rebindings on console? That's lame.
If you do, I don't know how to do it. Basically, you just had to go the in-game, and you could swap around. If you wanted it on left trigger, you had to go inverted controls, is what I remembered. So I just adapted otherwise for a bit there until I got my elite controller.
Easy copy. Yeah. Or elite controller, paddles and stuff.
Yeah, that's the way to go. On Xbox specifically. Or I guess you get an off-cell one. Okay, what do you think's the best for destroying Corvette and Raiders?
Why are you destroying a Corvette or a Raider?
Oh, you don't think you should?
Time waste.
The best way to destroy the Corvette or Raider is to farm AI, guys. You heard it here first.
Oh. So you're okay.
That's funny.
I mean, I find it hard sometimes. I mean, it depends how your I guess your interceptors are playing sometimes too. If they can stop the guys from getting in versus the farm, or maybe Fencar, you've got. I should say too, you've probably got some videos coming out about how to farm like a champ pretty soon on your YouTube channel.
Oh, I don't have a YouTube channel.
Oh,
yet.
You don't, but
aren't
you getting into making some more videos soon?
I'm trying to. I keep like practicing instead for the tournament.
That happens. Yeah.
Or cooking, and then like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Or cooking.
What do you think about the? I was going to ask, what do you think about the B-wing? Have you seen anybody out there using it to its fullest capability? Have you tried using it to its fullest capability?
Sorry, I had to take a moment there. Yeah, B-wing is hot garbage.
It's just straight trash, isn't it? Is there any, can you see any issues if they fixed it up maybe, or gave it a little bit more juice or something?
So here's the issue. Like, there's a lot of ways they could fix the B-wing, but it needs a pretty substantial rework. So let me. So I'm not going to go into the tirade because the tirade would be too long. But there's two gigantic issues with it. Okay, the first is the HP is super, 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 super low for like the maneuverability it has. The second is the maneuverability, like not the turn rate while drifting. The turn rate while drifting is fine, but there's 2 problems. I'm nesting here. There's 2 problems with like the way it moves around. Okay, first off, the boost bar is the same as the Y-wings as far as the number of micro drifts you can do and the time it takes to charge it up. Okay, but it doesn't have access to jet engine, so it can't alleviate that in any way. The second thing is it's like. So it's slow, so it doesn't go anywhere. And also so most ships, like the TIE Defender, right? You've seen boost in this direction, drift, dead drift, and then boost in the other direction. And every time, like, it's like, pew, 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 like there's a big acceleration there whenever they start boosting again. Guess how fast the B-wing boosts out of it? It was like 90 degrees even or backwards. Guess how long it takes to get up to full acceleration?
Like 2 seconds, 2 full seconds?
Yeah, it's like 2 full seconds of sitting there, sitting there, like.
I mean, you basically have to have 4 people escorted in to do anything.
It's really, really.
Are we going to see it on the competitive scene at all?
It's hot garbage.
I mean, if you see it out there, you know a team's like.
You might see it, like people can like pull it out and like run mask shenanigans with it. Like you can. It's not good. Everyone's gonna die afterwards because they're in B wings and they don't have any boost. They don't have boost extension or any way to get boost.
Yeah,
It's
Their firepower is low. Like 10k damage on 10 proton bombs is like all right. I guess you could
if
run an
get there
X-wing and
back
get 2
safely.
proton torpedoes and then like a bunch of burst laser energy and then also like get out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's
Get
other
out
ways to
alive.
do
Yeah.
the same thing, but it's pretty much for meme games, I guess, if you really want to meme
That's
your...
right.
It's for me, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool, hot garbage.
But functionally, you don't think it brings anything to the table for fleet battles that already didn't exist with the Y-wing, or
I mean, it could.
Mm.
I mean, like functionally in casual games, totally, because it's the only ship that can carry 10 proton bombs. You can reorient the cockpit, which is a cool thing. Like I saw, there was a game where I saw someone like put the B-wing like up there, like the cockpit was at the bottom, and they flew like this over the Star Destroyer, right? With the B-wing with the T-pose upside down, right? And it's much easier to fly that way. And then they meme beamed the shield gen. They managed it one time out of like the 2 games they played,
They moved.
or out of
So
out of 2 attackers they had. Yeah.
So you think it's still efficient wise, second per second, properly loaded out X-wing or properly loaded out bomber, Y-wing is got the B-wing completely trumped. Like in a high competitive situation, there's no real reason to bring it out of the hangar.
There is never a reason to bring the B-wing unless you just want to get shut down.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
Right.
It's hot garbage.
So
It's like flying a trash can that's been like boiled and warped and is about to break and fall apart.
see, I feel like that has more use than the B-wing does, to be honest. Actually,
Exactly,
The
right?
garbage can
Oh my god! That's a very very generous description to the way the B-wing flies.
Or B-wing.
I mean,
yeah.
okay, there is one neat thing about it is it has a really, really high drift turn rate. So like if it could boost extremely quickly out of its out of a drift, then I would consider it a decent knife fighter. But it stops still for like a second and it has a low health pool. So it can't even like really turn or like knife fight the way it can in like, you know, if you played the game like the tabletop game X-Wing back in like wave 2 of the game when the B-Wing was first released, that's what it did. It did a tiny sharp turn and it shot things behind it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you think in the high level competitive scene, do you think adding that TIE Defender overthrew the balance on the Empire ships a little, because no one's really going to pull out the B-Wing? So now the Empire ships just have more options, and the Rebel ships are just kind of the same as they were before.
TIE Defender does some interesting things to the meta. It's definitely a little bit stronger for Empire, but the fact that it's all shields mean that there are counterplays, and it has some weaknesses compared to the Interceptor as far as opportunity cost for like damage, right? Like
exactly.
you saw Scalp Waka get dozens of kills in the last couple of games of the tournament, right? Like since the games against Cheese, like he got tons and tons of kills. Guarantee you he would not have been able to get as many kills as he did if he was flying Defender rather than an Interceptor. There's a real like opportunity cost as far as damage and maneuverability goes. Like just as far as like, so like a Defender just moves more slowly than an Interceptor when it's not boosting, right? It's easier to track targets when you're not boosting or when you're not drifting. It's more effective to tail things, and you get more damage in when you're maintaining distance and speed on their 6 shooting them. Than you do when you're doing this like perpendicular drifting. Like if you do a perpendicular drift past someone, even if you have like perfect aim, which no one really does have, you're going like this, like you're getting closer, you're getting farther away, and it's like, well, you know. And the Defender just doesn't have that kind of damage output that the Interceptor has. So
here's my thought, though.
That's true.
The balance between the Defender and the B-Wing, that's not there. But what I think how it did add balance, though, is that the A-Wing was too overpowered for the New Republic side. So where the Defender coming in, I think, kind of sort of added balance to the two sides, because the Empire, I feel like, was at a disadvantage until the Defender was added.
Funny thing is that the real A-Wing problem was the shield regeneration, and they patched that twice. They reduced it by 1/3 2 times. Now the A-Wing regenerates extremely slowly. It's very, very difficult to fly now, actually, because of the really slow energy regeneration. Um, and it was always going to be like because of the shield mechanic, right? Empire is very get in and out, do a lot of damage, and Rebellion is like win the war of attrition and like be very careful and try not to die and be careful if you're like slower but tankier ships. Like it's more of a careful game of getting in and out, whereas Empire is very like fast and hard. Does it make sense?
That does make
It's
sense.
it's more of this kind of dichotomy. And when you look at the Defender, what you're really looking at is the opportunity cost of running it compared to another Empire ship. The difference is that defenders are the game of attrition for Empire, right? Like they're what stay in and what provide value over time, both in dogfighting and in capture damage. So like the defender doesn't actually do more capture damage than like the TIE bomber, but it has about the same amount of effective hit points. If you like take half damage and then you regenerate some of it, then you're all set. It's just the when you're comparing the opportunity cost. And overall, I'd say it's like a small buff because it does give you some more options as Empire to like set that up. But it's not like it was already a little bit Empire favored in terms of hitting the objective because that hard and fast playstyle against the Rebel capital ships is really, really effective and really, really hard to solve. Like playing Republic is harder at like you have like different levels of plateaus of like New Republic's easier until you get to a certain point, then Empire's harder and Republic's harder, right? Like New Republic's easier once you get the hang of like overcharging your shields until you get the hang of like shunting and drifting and stuff, and then New Republic's harder again. We're at that point where like New Republic's harder because they have a harder time with attrition and they don't have like the hard and fast get in, get out stuff. So right now it's like, how do you get in effectively and do good damage and keep the phase going for long enough while also not getting beamed down by those hard and fast Empire ships? That's where New Republics are really at a high level right now.
One thing I like, although I already see the counterpoint, I prefer to attack the ISD than I do the MC-75. But in some ways, the shield gens are easier to defend on the ISD, actually. So I can kind of see the counterpoint to it. But that's the one thing I can think of, that the New Republic, it does seem easier to attack the ISD anyway.
And other people say the M75's got all of its hard points are lined up in a straight shot. So someone like Destraciate can come by and be like, pop, 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 pop. And, it's a smaller ship than the ISD, and potentially you could take it down faster.
Yeah. The MC-75 is harder to defend at the highest level. You saw that in the in most of the games that we played in Up Ace, the MC-75 was much, much harder to defend because like you said, it's a much smaller target. Things are more clustered, and so with less travel time, that means less time for us to shoot down incoming bombers or other ships that are shooting at the MC-75. Having a smaller ship just means you've got less surface area to work with when you're less travel time to work with. Yeah. And having those hard points at the front is like compounds the issue because then they don't really have to trap like you get under the shields and within like 200 meters you're at the shield gen.
Yeah.
Right? It's very, very quick. It's very, very hard to stop. Whereas with the ISD, you have to travel all the way to the back of the ISD. You have to go through these one or two specific angles, which people know where you're coming from, right? It's like on the triangle, it's like this, it's like right here and right here, right?
Yeah.
And everyone knows that because everyone's been doing it for months.
All the spots to hit a good Vandersloop, right?
Everyone likes to go Vandersloop, right?
Yeah.
And those are the most effective angles. Everyone knows to the target that you target the fighters with the torpedoes, and you shoot those down, and you're good. With the MC-75, it's not so simple because you're looking at more angles of attack. You're looking at a smaller space to defend, and like Empire ships are hard to catch and they're tanky. And when you can take any path to get there, and you have like virtually unlimited boost energy and a defender or TIE fighter with shunting, it's very, very hard to stop. And again, that's part of the asymmetry between New Republic and Empire. Not that New Republic doesn't have advantages that they can leverage, but it's difficult to be sure.
So maybe I just need to work on my attack runs on the MC-75 then, because I shouldn't prefer the ISD.
I see is similar to attack.
Maybe that's what it is.
NC
Maybe
is
I
harder,
know how to
but
attack the
more
ISP
powerful.
very clearly, I guess. So when the MC75, it's kind of can be a little different. I need to nail that down a bit more, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess just to wrap up here, Fencar, you're streaming on Twitch. Do you want to give a shout out to any of your your socials and everything in there? Let everyone know where they can find
Right now, all I've got is Twitch. One day there will be a YouTube command for my YouTube channel when that starts up. But right now, it's just Twitch. So I stream on there. I try to stream 3 or 4 days a week, and I aim to do a lot of coaching with different members of the community throughout my streaming career. So
Nice, man.
right now, I do offer free coaching for anyone who's interested. Subscribers prefer, but
Twitch, and it's Twitch TV/Fencar.
Twitch TV/Fencar. I was looking at the snag that back in like 2012.
Nice.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add in there, Fencar, Green Fox, before we wrap up?
Shout out to Splinter Squadron.
Yeah.
Yeah, Squadron. Yeah, good luck in the upcoming competition. Should be fun.
Anything you want
We're
the
gonna
community
crush
to know about the Calrissian Cup coming up this week, Green Fox?
We're gonna crush it.
This guy's going to crush it. I think it's going to be fun. We're going to be excited to be streaming it live on Sunday from noon till about 5 p.m. on Sunday PST. It should be really good. We had 64 teams sign up within 2 days, and everyone's locked in and registered. So it's going to be a really good time.
Super freaking exciting.
Yeah, so it's just going to be the whole community is pretty much going to be streaming on Saturday there, so there'll be tons of games to watch out. For the whole community there, yeah. Super exciting. So Fencar, thank you so much for being on this episode and letting people know all this objective stuff, because I mean the knowledge is out there, but it's just good to put it forth in another way to the whole community so that everyone can just learn a little bit, and I'm sure people will be putting some of this stuff up the drawing board. I know I will be too.
Yeah, for sure.
So from behalf of me,
come on stream, be my guinea pig.
Anytime. Yeah. All right, so Green Fox, what do you got to say to end it up here?
Nice, man. I think just want to thank Fencar for coming on this week, and I think we're going to be interested to see what the results are after the weekend, and we'll keep tracking SCL as that goes here throughout the weeks, and it's going to be good.
Yep.
Right,
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, and for everyone out there, give a like, a subscribe, all that stuff to the podcast. I'm Timebomb. On behalf of Green Fox, we'll catch you guys next time.